Viewers, it's no secret that Donald Trump has turned against India, a country which he once called a friend. Ever since India rejected his false claim of mediating a ceasefire with Pakistan, we've seen how the POTUS has gone all out to destroy a decades-long tie with Bharat. But at the same time, Trump has been cozying up to Pakistan, and that has not gone down well within America itself. The latest to slam Trump for lapping Pakistan at the cost of India is Jake Sullivan, former national security advisor of the United States, claims that there's a personal stake for Trump in his dealings with Pakistan. And what exactly does he have to say? Let's take a quick look at it. He's saying that they've thrown away India ties for families' Pakistan deals. That's what Jake Sullivan is saying. He's adding that America's friends will think that we aren't reliable. He's further added that this is a huge strategic harm for the United States. He's added that strong US-India ties serve the interests of US itself. So what is this deal that Jake Sullivan is really talking about? And how is the Trump family involved in all of this? Let's take you through this. Now, this is really, of course, the entire deal that we're talking about. There's World Liberty Financial, which is 60% owned by Trump family. It's linked to, of course, Donald Trump, who's the chief crypto advocate. There's Eric Trump, who's a Web3 ambassador. Then there is, of course, Barron Trump linked to this, who's a DeFi visionary. You have Donald Trump Jr., who's a Web3 ambassador as well. And all of these companies have signed a pact with Pakistan 5 days after the Pahalgam attack. Now, while this crypto pact has been much publicized and talked about, Trump has been doing his best to increase business with Pakistan, both directly and indirectly. Now, what is this that we're talking about? We're talking not just about crypto, which of course is the World Liberty Financial, where Trump family has these ties, but also we've seen a known US businessman pushing for deals with Pakistan. Beg your pardon, this is Gently Thomas, who has close ties with Trump Jr. There's also, of course, two US firms who've signed a pact to explore gold deposits, and one of the firm's owners is an aide of the Trump family. When it comes to oil as well, US and Pakistan have signed a pact to develop oil reserves in Pakistan. Now, Trump may be the president of the United States, but he's a businessman first and foremost. Whatever he does, it has to have the element of profits in it. So let's explain to you why the POTUS has all of a sudden fallen in love with Pakistan. Why is it that Trump loves Pakistan so much? First, of course, is the fact that his Nobel Peace Prize dream has been endorsed by Pakistan. Also, they've brokered a ceasefire lie, which Trump says has, of course, been promoted by them. There's been a deal signed with Trump's family venture that we've just mentioned as well as the pact with US to develop oil reserves. Debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Pathikrit Payne is geopolitical analyst joining us. We have Pratik Chowgule, who's an executive director of the Coalition for Political Forecasting and former policy coordinator on the presidential campaigns of Donald Trump. But my first question is to Angie Wong, Miami GOP committee woman. Angie Wong, is it clear now, as Jake Sullivan seems to be suggesting, that at the altar of business ties with Pakistan, Trump has sacrificed US-India ties, as Jake Sullivan seems to suggest?
Well, you have to understand there's a lot of politics wrapped up in all of this. Remember, this deal with World Liberty Financial was done back in May. So you have to ask, why is Jake Sullivan, Biden's former national security advisor, why is he bringing it up now? Oh, it's because his wife is Maggie Goodlander. She is a congresswoman in New Hampshire, and she's going to get primaried out because Trump has touted that he wants an additional 100 Republican congressional seats to be won in the midterms in 2026. So Jake Sullivan, being the husband of Maggie Goodlander, is punching back and bringing up old ties of this business deal that was done long ago. Why didn't he bring it up back in May when it first happened? And we also have to remember that this particular crypto deal wasn't just done with Pakistan. It was done with other countries like Abu Dhabi, and 4 or 5 other countries are in current negotiations to be stakeholders. So I don't think
Angie Wong,
this is
isn't it a fact that this deal was done 5 days after the Pahalgam attack? What about the timing of that? That doesn't surprise you? Why is Pakistan so eager to cut deals with US just after it has attacked India with a terror strike?
I'm sure there's a lot of world politics wrapped up in that as well. But remember, Donald Trump and the Trump Organization has deals around the world. They're looking at deals in Hanoi. They're looking at deals in Singapore. They're looking at deals all over the world. I don't think this is a targeted. I don't think this is meant to harm India, although I understand, the big rift between the two countries, and I understand that there's sensitivities there. I don't think that this is just a target. I think that Jake Sullivan is playing political
games. Is it also just a coincidence, Angie Wong, that the army chief, General Munir, has been called twice to Washington, D.C. following the signing of this deal? That's also a coincidence.
I don't believe that those two are related, and I don't see any intelligence that would relate the two. So I really do think that the Trump Organization is going to make as much money as possible. Look, Trump has privately told his family and members of Mar-a-Lago, his club in Palm Beach, basically, go make as much money as you possibly can right now. I'm only going to be president for 4 years. You should get as much as you can during these 4 years. After that, I can't make any promises. So that's what's happening. His sons are going around the world making deals, lots of real estate deals. We're even hearing possibly of a Trump building going up in North Korea.
Very interesting, ma'am, that you said that so unflinchingly without even a bother. That's a conflict of interest in any other democracy. This would be a huge issue. But let me bring in Pathikrit Pain.
Not for the families. Not for the family members, not at all.
Pathikrit Pain, this is absolutely bizarre. We are actually hearing this on national television here. You have a NSA, of course, she has every right to counter, saying that there is, his wife and all of those angles as to why Jake Sullivan is articulating those demands. But the very fact that you have deals going on for oil, for, exploration of gold, so on and so forth, all of this suddenly coming out of the blue at a time where Trump's ties with Pakistan are going up and ties with India are seeing a southward trend. Is it just a coincidence?
Madhav, good evening. First of all, it's particularly fine. Secondly, let me put it this way. I don't know about the internal politics, but there is something much more than what meets the eyes. Pakistan has been always a major non-NATO ally of United States. Even during the Kargil war, when US denied us GPS access for enemy locations, Bill Clinton, that time who was the president, had openly admonished their Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif for the Kargil misadventure. It was the same Trump in 2018 when he stopped the war on terror aid to Pakistan, said that for the $33 billion that was given to Pakistan, all that Pakistan has given in return was lies and deceit. There's a tweet in 2018. He said US was foolish to give $33 billion. During the Balakot airstrike in 2019, even then when Secretary of State was Mike Pompeo during the Trump administration, Trump was very measured. But something happened, something changed in 2024. And, it's not that Pakistan is a great trade partner of the United States except for the terror trade that happens. So you say you equate India and Pakistan in the same bracket. You quote the field marshal. You allow him to come in United States, allow him to threaten India. He says that he would use nuke, and take the half world down. And then, Trump administration is still okay with that. You call India a dead economy. You say all kinds of things to India. And knowing well that what India did in terms of defying might have a domino effect, wherein the Europeans and the Japanese and everyone else are saying that we are not comfortable with the trade deals. We want to have a relook. We don't want to sign it right now. In spite of all the things today, what has happened in SCO, that has been the hog light, it's, hogging the light across the world, where it is presumed that United States has lost India's trust. It's not us, it is the Americans saying. Now, why would somebody do that at the cost of keeping the Pakistanis happy? There's something which is more than what meets the eyes. And in that case, when you talk about the crypto issue, that is definitely, that definitely will raise our eyebrows. That is not, and Pakistan is a country for slush money. All the generals over there are known to make money.
Absolutely.
And all of that get transferred out of Pakistan. And crypto has been a very good avenue for money laundering. And we know how Trump has been a big advocate for crypto before he became the president. And then when you add up all the puzzles in the jigsaw, you realize that something must have happened where Trump's own priorities perhaps is
Pratik
more
Chaugale.
important than America's own.
I want
strategy.
Pratik to respond to you on that. Pratik Chaugale, all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle only seem to be adding up, from the kind of slush money, black money, whatever one chooses to call it, in Pakistan, and crypto perhaps being the best vehicle for it. The very fact that these deals have been signed just days after the Pahalgam attack, and how the US-Pakistan relationship seems to have taken off just after the signing of these deals, raise some very, very serious questions. Questions of propriety and questions of whether it is personal enrichment that has sacrificed ties between two countries that have been very carefully built for 2.5 decades.
Well, I agree. At a very minimum, it creates a bad perception. And I think the unfortunate thing for the Trump administration is that when the president and his family engage in these kinds of business ventures, it ultimately undermines the administration's geopolitical prerogatives. I'm not going to defend what the Trump administration is doing and what the Trump family is doing with regard to crypto and all these other things, but I do think that Indian analysts, among others, who are simply attributing American policy to whatever financial deals the Trump family might have, I think are missing the ball. Whether or not you agree with the Trump administration's India policy, there is a logic to it in the context of other geopolitical issues here, and I think that these issues related to crypto and whatever else are distracting from what I think are much bigger geopolitical problems here.
Let me just remind you of what Donald Trump said in 2018. I'm reading out from social media platform X, formerly called Twitter. The US has foolishly given Pakistan more than $33 billion in aid over the last 15 years. And they have given us nothing but lies and deceit. Thinking of our leaders as fools, they give safe haven to the terrorists we hunt in Afghanistan with little help. No more. What's changed, Pratik Chaugale? What's changed since 2018, I beg your pardon?
Well, I'm glad you brought up Afghanistan. I've actually been surprised how little of that has been remarked on. Whether or not it was the correct decision, the U.S. decided to withdraw from Afghanistan. And the fact of the matter is I disagreed with that decision, but the fact of the matter is even after the withdrawal, Afghanistan has basically been under control enough that it's not an immediate priority on the U.S. agenda. I think it was more or less inevitable that that would be a game changer in U.S. relations with Pakistan. It makes sense that in light of the Afghanistan issue now being on the back burner, that there would be a U.S. effort to strengthen ties with Pakistan. Now, I don't think the right way to do that is to get into these crony crypto deals, but I'm not terribly surprised that there's been a readjustment in the relationship.
But Pratik, this is the problem, because, we ignore the fact that in 2000, there were hardly any military exports from the U.S. to India. Today, that's figures at around 22 billion, if I'm not mistaken. Even when it comes to tariffs, the barriers and the percentages of those tax have been lowered over a period of time. So, there's a lot of misinformation that's also coming out, from all of these statements from the United States, which says that India doesn't want to do business, it's a one-sided relationship, but it is a fact that these things take time. They don't happen overnight as, certain officials in the US might like it to happen. Adhikrit.
Madhav, you're absolutely right. Since 2008, India has imported weapon systems worth $28 billion, number one. Secondly, the amount of money the American consulting companies, the American big tech companies, the American banks make in India is to the tune of $80 billion in a year. The amount of American investments in terms of FDI and FII in the Indian market is nearly $500 billion. And the amount of money the American FMCGs and the automobile companies make in India is huge. And in spite of that, we are told that we are protectionist. We are not giving them space. More than 70 to 80% of the goods that enter to India from America have less than 10% duty. And in spite of that, there is a presumption that is created that we are the biggest enemies. We are the ones, responsible for Ukraine war, as if we invaded Ukraine. We are the ones who are taking oil from Russia, as if the rest of the world takes the oil from Mars and Uranus. It's a perception that is being created because as if we are initially they thought that we are a soft target. They will pressure us and we will open up our market of dairy, poultry, fisheries and agriculture, which employs more than 150 million people and their livelihood is dependent on that. And once we did not do that, once we did not succumb to the pressures, it was as if you were, you're looking for a scapegoat for your inability to
It's the
control
sheer
the Ukraine
hypocrisy of it. China, is a country that imports a huge amount of oil from Russia, far more than India does. The EU imports far more natural gas than India does. The US itself does $2.5 billion worth of trade when it comes to uranium, plutonium from Russia. But India is the one that has to be tariffed, Pratik Chaugale. What's the logic in that?
Well, I think the logic is there are a few different things here. I think, to put it very bluntly, if you're looking at the big powers here, you're looking at Russia, you're looking at China, you're looking at others. The U.S.-India relationship is not as important, not as significant as those other relationships. So if you're expecting perfect consistency out of the U.S., it's not going to happen. But I think that there is a high-level logic here, which is that the administration is prioritizing
a country that you claim
the Russia
to have
issue,
friendly ties with,
the China.
The least one would expect is lack of hypocrisy.
Your question is, you would expect a lack of hypocrisy from the U.S.?
Absolutely. Because you suddenly impose a 25% tariff, you have Navarro calling it Modi's war, and you have other countries which in fact import a huge amount of energy from Russia. Why did you tax them?
Look, I don't think this foreign policy by tariff that the Trump administration is doing, I don't agree with it. And I think that it is a misguided approach.
Well, I'm very glad that you don't agree with all of that, despite being somebody who supports President Trump. We'll have to leave it there. Pratik Chaugale, Angie Wong, Pathikrit Pine, thank you so much for joining us this evening.